1, 2, shake, shake, 1, 2, shake, shake, and then you go 1, 2, shake, shake, 1, 2, shake, shake, 1, 2, shake, 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 apa, shake, shake, dia nana, dia nani, dia o, dia nana, dia nani.
All right, so we are carrying on. As you can see, I've moved over into the presenter's chair. That means I'm presenting, and that's quite an honor for me, as I'm not just doing the MC duties, but I'm going to be doing a little bit of presenting as well. Why am I presenting? Well, because we have a great partner in Ghana, and Ghana is up next. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And Ghana is a fabulous destination. I had the opportunity, along with some of my colleagues from Galway, to travel to Ghana. As a matter of fact, one of them working the chat was one of the people that I traveled to Ghana with, Gina from Galway as well. She's part of today's event as well. And I get the opportunity to present on behalf of Landtours. And who is Landtours? That is our partner, and has been our partner, I think, for quite some time in Ghana. They do an absolutely fabulous job. I cannot say enough great things about them. And of course, I've been at Galway for a number of years, so I have seen the uptick in interest in Ghana. I have seen the uptick in people sending groups to Ghana. More and more people are talking about Ghana. So for me to go and travel to Ghana was a real opportunity and an absolute treat. And boy, did it open my eyes. So we're going to talk about Ghana. I don't know if we have the time going. We don't have the time going, but Don is going to keep me honest and on track. Let's just watch this video, then I'll come back and we can chat. Do I need to hit it again? There we go. I do need to hit it. All right, welcome back. Thank you for watching that video. And as I mentioned to you, I'm doing this presentation on behalf of our partner, our ground handler in Ghana. We've been working with them for a number of years. They do an absolutely fabulous job, whether it's a group that you're looking to put together for Ghana or FIT. Landtours is who we use, and boy, I got the opportunity to meet with them when we traveled to Ghana this year. I can tell you the trip still stays with me. I'm going to share some of those impressions with you of me traveling through Ghana. But I wanted to make mention of the fact that, and I alluded to this earlier, at goway.com, which again is our consumer site, which I mention a lot because there's so much resource packed into our consumer site. There is a special that we just put up called Roots of Ghana, highlighting Accra, which of course is the capital city, as well as Cape Coast Castle. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is a little bit of the history of Ghana. One of the first countries in sub-Saharan Africa to declare independence. We had the opportunity to travel to the museum of the president of Ghana, who did declare that independence, as well as the W.E.B. Du Bois Center as well, which was, he was also pivotal in helping Ghanaians to recognize their history and to declare independence. But let me talk, first of all, about, of course, Accra is the capital city. It is where you fly into. It is where most of the tours begin. Wonderful city, safe, clean. We were able to walk around. We had fabulous dinners. The food, the hospitality. That was one of the things that I think is important for people to understand when traveling to Ghana. It is the kind of country where you can send your guests, feel confident they're going to be looked after. Of course, we had fabulous guide and driver from Landtours. But even when we were on our own walking around, it's a vibrant city. It's busy. We went to the market, of course, which you've got to do. But we always felt safe, and we're never, concerned about the area that we were in. So Accra is a fabulous city. And then, of course, we traveled along the coast to Cape Coast Castle, which is, they call it a castle, and it was primarily used as a, what do they call it? Slave dungeon. This is where a lot of the slaves were brought, so they were picked up throughout Central Africa, and, we learned about the story of the slaves and the slave trade that went on for over 200 years, which, just boggles the mind that this went on for so long. But these people were picked up throughout Africa. They traveled on foot, of course, for a very long time. And then they were brought to what were essentially the slave dungeons. They call them castles. So Cape Coast Castle is one of them. Amina Castle is another one of them that we also saw. There's a number of them. Those are kind of the most famous. I cannot begin to tell you what it was like when we were there. And of course, I've talked to people afterwards, and they sort of equated it to visiting the concentration camps in Poland or Germany, throughout Europe during the Second World War. And of course, those went on for maybe 4, 5, maybe 6 years at the most. These castles were used for 200 years. And I really encourage people to consider going to Ghana over the next few years, because I think as more and more awareness, we trace our ancestry, more and more people want to learn about where they came from. A lot of people can trace it back to Ghana, and you get to go through the slave castle. And at one point, we were actually standing in a slave dungeon. I can't begin to tell you what that was like. We were in the slave dungeon where men, and of course there were slave dungeons for women, but we were standing in the slave dungeon for men, and we were told the story of what these people went through, how they were held in these slave dungeons for up to 90 days, 3 months, while they waited for their transport across the Atlantic to Bahamas, South America, the U.S., of course. It was unbelievable to hear the story and to think about this room packed with men standing there. There was no beds, of course. It was literally just standing. And at one point, the guide said to us, I want you to look over to that part of the room. They excavated the floor, and there you could see the original floor, the cobblestones. He said, what you are all standing on, meaning us, was 6 inches of DNA, 6 inches of sweat, tears, and everything else that you could imagine. That's hard to get your head around, and you could have heard a pin drop. So The reason why I say go to Ghana over the next little while is because I don't know if in 5 and 6 and 7 years, when tourism really accelerates in Ghana, whether they'll still have the slave dungeons open for us to stand there and to stand on the ground that so many men and women stood waiting for their transport to the New World. It's hard to get your head around. And I tell this story because it was moving. There's a picture of the courtyard of Cape Coast Castle. And there is a picture of President Obama. It was one of his first international trips, July 2009, if I remember correctly. There's a picture of Obama standing alone in the courtyard, and he's deep in thought. And you can only imagine, as the first black African American president, the most powerful man on earth, you can only imagine what was going through his mind at the time while he stood on that ground thinking about his ancestors, so many of them that had been put through this horrific experience. And of course, there as well is the door of no return. And again, this is another reason why I say consider going to Ghana over the next little while. We were brought through the door of no return, which is the door where the slaves were brought out of the castle and then walked from the castle down to the beach where they would meet the ship, then be tendered out to the bigger ship that would take them across the Atlantic. And while we were standing there and our guide was talking, there were two boys playing football or soccer, kicking the ball right around the door of no return. It's hard to put into words. It is so authentic. It is so real. You cannot help but turn away or not turn away, and you're just captivated by this story. So a couple of videos I think we'll just let play. I want you to capture some of the images of Ghana and sights and sounds. We'll let that play. All right. Some of the living heritage experiences. So we attended a naming rights ceremony. I don't know if I'm on camera or not, but I still have the bracelets that I received that I wear with pride. I was absolutely, and everybody that was with us. So, you know, one day we were at Cape Coast Castle learning about the history, standing on this hallowed ground. The next day we're being warmly welcomed by one of the chiefs of one of the villages that we went to and treating us like royalty. And they learned our names, they learned our birth dates, and we received our naming ceremony along with our bracelet. Incredible experience. And the people are just so warm and welcoming. And the day earlier we had this history and we learned all about, the role. And then the next day to be at the naming ceremony was just, it was an incredible experience. I cannot begin to tell you enough about Ghana and the reasons why you should consider going. An atonement ceremony here that we also got to be part of, and I'll let that video play. Yeah, so much to do and see when you're in Ghana. I made mention of the fact that we have one of our specials up there, which features Accra, the capital, Cape Coast Castle. Of course, everybody wants to include that on your itinerary. And, of course, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which some of them I highlighted. Ghana had really opened my eyes to all that was possible. I had an image or an impression of Ghana, completely changed my perception, and like I said, I encourage folks to go there, to go to Ghana over the next little while, because I think as more and more people are aware of the ancestry, aware of the history of Ghana, the role that it played in the transatlantic slave trade, I think more and more people will want to go. So try to get in before the rush, if you will.